So I believe there is one root cause of every problem that we face today as human beings. One root cause that causes every single problem and challenge that we experience, whether that is violence and war, terror, depression, greed, it's misery and suffering, it is injustice. Any problem or challenge that we face is due to one main cause. It is the belief that we are separate from God. It is our disconnection from God. It is our disconnection from our true self. And by being disconnected, we then think we are separate. We then think we have to control others. We then think we have to get as much as we can on this earth while we live here on this planet at this time. It leads to greed, leads to anger, leads to injustice, leads to violence, right? My belief is better than your belief. This separation from the divine makes us isolated, lonely, greedy, angry, violent. It makes us suffer because we're not connected to our true self. And the true self, as all the great wisdom keepers have shown us for thousands of years, is that pure love, is compassion, is joy, is divine bliss. In Sanskrit, Satchitananda. Divine bliss. Satchitananda is truth, consciousness, bliss. The truth of our consciousness, the truth of consciousness is bliss, or the experience of consciousness is bliss. That is our true nature. But what is preventing us from experiencing our true nature? It's our beliefs, it's our traumas, it's our upbringings, it's our behaviors, our addictions. It's the parts of us that have developed to protect our nervous system at times when we couldn't process or handle whatever traumatic experience we were going through. As a child, maybe you weren't loved enough. Maybe you were left to cry too much. Maybe you were made to believe that you are too much. Maybe you did something or said something that felt natural and normal, but you were punished for it. Maybe you're consistently told that you're not good enough or shown that you're not good enough. And then you have to perform, you have to achieve, you have to create more and do more and look a certain way and be a certain way and act a certain way and talk a certain way. For what? So that you can be loved. I went through all of this. I've gone through all of these experiences of achievement, performance, seeking love outside of myself, seeking joy outside of myself, thinking that, oh, if I perform enough for others, if I have enough success, if I impact enough lives, if I get enough notoriety, if enough people like me, then I'll be loved and I'll be liked. Then I'll be whole and I'll be complete. See, these aren't conscious thoughts, right? I never thought that consciously. These are subconscious thoughts. If you have stress in your life, chronic stress, if you have self-doubt, if you have any kind of tendency, habitual tendency that creates a negative outcome, maybe you go to food, and food is kind of your tendency or your coping mechanism, your addiction, or maybe it's alcohol to decompress, or maybe it's going to a bar on the weekends to decompress, to feel connection, to get drunk and to feel a sense of trying to fill up something inside. Maybe it's getting in arguments all the time. Maybe it's the desire and need to assert yourself, to feel right, to have justice. Maybe it is feeling insecure inside yourself. And then because of the insecurity, now there's this major attachment to how you look and how people perceive you, right? And none of this is wrong and none of this is bad. This is all natural and normal, in fact. Because look at a child. When a child is born, certainly for his first few years, that child is just a bundle of joy. It just laughs at anything, laughs at everything, right? Is pure, is just love. And if it cries because it's hungry, it gets a little food, it's done. right? If it doesn't get what it wants, it's like, okay, cool, move on to the next. Or it gets the toy that it wants and it's happy and joyful, and then it can let it go and forget about it. But as adults, we've gotten to a place where we get angry when we don't get what we want, or sad or upset, or we work excessively hard. We work our minds and bodies to the core, to the bone, to the point of breakdown, shutdown. You know, as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as leaders of family, as leaders of individuals, as leaders of communities, as leaders of people, in any way you consider yourself a leader, oftentimes we're striving for success, we're striving for impact, we're striving for more money, we're striving for more notoriety. We think the more we do, the happier we'll be, the more fulfilled we'll be. And in the end, when you achieve something of great success, like I've achieved many of the goals I've set out to achieve in the last 20 years of being an entrepreneur, and yet none of them lead to any real lasting fulfillment or deep inner happiness, does it? And in fact, striving too much leads to burnout, leads to destroying this body, leads to even depression in a lot of cases, or feeling like something's wrong with you, or what is wrong? I'm successful on the outside, but inside there's something eating me up inside. There's this discomfort, there's this lack of fulfillment, there's this insecurity, there's all these feelings I've had inside myself thousands and thousands of times. These feelings of like, oh, I should be doing more, or I could do better, or why am I feeling this way? I've done so much personal growth. I've done so much spiritual growth. I shouldn't have these emotions. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't be sad, right? I shouldn't be sad inside myself. I shouldn't be, okay, there's sadness, there's anger, there's judgment. Oh, that's not good. That's not spiritual. So let me just push that away and cover it up with, oh, let's be positive. Let's just show the world that I'm happy, and inside you're really eaten up inside. And what is that? That is a disconnection from true self. And these parts of us were fragmented when we were younger, compartmentalized when we were younger. For what? Not because something's wrong with you, because your nervous system didn't know what to do with it, didn't know how to process it. When you were abused, when you were traumatized, when you were lied to, when you were told one thing and saw that it was something different, all of these things create little traumas and tears inside of our own system. In Sanskrit, in ancient Indian teachings and yoga, Sanatana Dharma, it's called samskaras. These are samskaras. These are impressions that get made in us. In modern psychology, we would call these parts. These are parts of us that develop. And in the work that I do with clients, we go in and we understand these parts, because these parts also have wisdom for you. They both tell you what they're doing, that they've either been exiled or they have become protectors. And they tell you what they need, and they tell you the wisdom that's there for you, so that you cannot push them away, but learn from them and then integrate them into your whole self, so we can become more whole. The whole spiritual journey is about becoming more whole. And becoming more whole is about knowing the whole truth of your entire self. Knowing what's going on inside of me. Personally, as a personal example, why have I gotten into so many heated debates and arguments and feel like, oh, I need to get this truth out. I need to be heard. I need to, help this person, and it can turn into an escalated, heated debate. Well, I've done a process that I help others through called the Awaken process. I do the Awaken process on myself, and what I discovered is profound. Is that when I was a child, I wasn't listened to. I wasn't heard. My thoughts weren't respected. I was talked down to, belittled. You're too dumb. You're too young. You don't know what you're talking about. Right? Not listened to, not heard, not respected. How many can relate to that? Probably most every child on the planet. And then so why do we get into debates? Why do we get into heated arguments and feel like we have to be right? There's different reasons, but in this case, which is mine and very common for so many people, is that I just want to be heard. I want to be listened to. but why do I want to be heard? Why do I want to be listened to? Because as a child at that time, the meaning that was given to that part of me that when I wasn't heard and I wasn't listened to was that I wasn't loved. Oh, they're not listening to me. They're not hearing what I say. They must not love me. See, that's what the subconscious takes in as a child. That's what the nervous system takes in. And it even becomes a somatic experience. So the clients I work with, we do somatic work as well. We do parts work, we do somatic work because it also lodges in your body. We know that thoughts and emotions are energy, and they somatically get lodged into parts of our body. And in all the work I've done with cancer patients, for example, we discovered this with cancer. It's also true in pretty much every chronic disease, that there's an emotional tie to that cancer or that chronic disease. And Dr. Candace Pert discovered this at a biological level, that our nervous system releases neuropeptides, and those neuropeptides get stored in tissues in our body. Well, neuropeptides are a form of energy. Also, everything's energy. So that energy, the mental, emotional, physical energy, and the neuropeptides get stored in organs and tissues. And guess what? On a physical level, it can create chronic inflammation, which can lead to all kinds of problems, autoimmune disease, heart disease, cancer, all kinds of problems. At an emotional level, it's a incompleteness and insecurity. Subconsciously, what's happening is, well, they're not listening to me. They don't think I'm smart. Underneath all that, they don't love me. So what did that child really need? That child really needed to be loved. So another part of the awaken process that I guide people through is attachment repair and inner child wound healing. And we go in and we talk to that inner child. And we find out what they need and what they want. And then we give it to them. Mentally, emotionally, experientially, somatically. And this is how we start to heal these wounds and we start to heal these blockages that are preventing us from experiencing our true self. The divine self, the divine aspect of who you truly are beyond these samskaras, beyond these impressions, beyond these parts, beyond all of this. And that's where I bring in Advaita Vedanta and yoga and Buddhist teachings and deep spiritual teachings and practices of experiencing the true self. See, the true self is beyond all of these impressions, these samskaras, these beliefs, and yet it encompasses all of it as well. It's not separate from, it's not spiritual bypassing. When we experience a true self in a guided meditation, for example, we're not denying what's happening. In fact, that's one of the worst things you can do. And one of the worst things that I've done over the years was just, oh, that emotion's coming. I'm not supposed to have that. Let me put that away. Let me just, be strong, be brave, be smart, be wise, be loving, be kind. The real work is acknowledging it, accepting it, understanding it, and then integrating it, but also at the same time, experiencing yourself as the witness of all of it, that there is a deep awareness within all of us that can also recognize, yes, this is part of us, and yet there's a higher part of me that's beyond all of it. And the more that we tap into that through my experience, the more we experience a true self, the more we experience the divine within ourselves, the more free we become, the more joyful and happy we become, the more peaceful we become. Instead of getting in really heated debates back and forth, arguing completely out of control with people, now I might get into a little bit of an elevated conversation that's challenging, but it's not taking over my whole system and causing me to get angry and like this. And then I can recognize and be like, oh, I'm elevated, I'm challenged. Okay, what is that? All right, you know what? Take a few deep breaths, back off, recognize, oh, that's that part of me. It really just wants love. Okay. Right? And so then I can come down. The more we catch ourselves and the more awareness we have, the more we start to integrate it back into us and become whole. And the more whole we become, the more connected to God, connected to the divine we become. Because God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, right? All pervasive, all knowing, all powerful. God is everywhere and in everything and everybody, always, everywhere. And it's only the fact that we don't know that or believe that or realize that we feel we're separate from God. Even Jesus spoke so beautifully about this. Matthew 6:33 said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and all else will be added unto you." So I said, beautiful. Where's the kingdom of God? Most people think the kingdom of God is in heaven or in a church or somewhere else outside themselves. But Jesus said in Luke 17:21, "Look not here nor there for the kingdom of God, but behold, the kingdom of God is within you and all around you." This is the same teachings of Advaita Vedanta, the same teachings of yoga, the same teachings that the ancient ancestors have been teaching us from the East for thousands of years, that God is within you and all around you. And it's our separation from that, or our lack of realization of that, that causes all the problems in our life. It causes all of our suffering, all of our misery. Causes the wars, causes the violence, causes the anger, causes the hatred, causes the addictions, all of it. All of it. Every problem. Name one problem that is not caused by our separation from God. One problem. Tell me one. Treating women less than men, separation from God. Treating other races as inferior, separation from God. Treating your religion better than somebody else's, thinking that you have all the answers and they don't, separation from God. Look, if God is all pervasive, all knowing, omniscient, everywhere, all the time, then if one person in one religion is praying to God and another person from another religion is praying to God, how can they be praying to two separate gods? Because there's only one. And it's in everybody, everywhere, all the time. He, she, whatever you want to call God, the divine, universe, everyone has a million different names for that all-knowing, all-powerful, all-conscious, omniscient, omnipresent power force that's within us and all around us. The only difference between two people who think they're praying to two separate gods is their own mind. It's their own ego. See, it's the ego that when we're not identified with the true self through the ego that prevents us from knowing the divine within. When we identify with our job, with our title, with our role in the world, with our gender, with our income, with our body, when we identify with these things and we get attached to these things, then we feel separate and we feel disconnected and it leads to our misery, right? But when we identify with the true self and with the divine, then we become all-inclusive. We become all connected to everybody and everything. We start to welcome everybody in. Crackhead on the street corner, the person of a different religion, the person of different beliefs, the person who even hurt you, the violent criminals. We start to welcome everybody into our hearts. That's the spiritual path, is to welcome everybody into your heart. If you can't welcome everybody into your heart, then you're missing the core foundation of what it even means to be religious or spiritual in any sense of that matter. And so that's one of the first core things to observe in yourself and maybe consider really practicing, noticing, recognizing, is welcome everybody into your heart. Because if you block them out as, oh, they're not as good as me, they're sinners, they're bad, they're evil, they're drug dealers, da-da-da. Well, guess what? That's not what spiritual teachers have taught us. That's not what Jesus taught us. That's not what Buddha taught us. That's not what any great master has taught us. They all said, welcome them all into your heart. That doesn't mean you have to live that lifestyle or you have to spend a lot of time with people who are doing harmful things. What it means is the judgment and condemnation and the anger towards them is only hurting you. And it's all coming from these deep emotional wounds inside of us from our childhood and our beliefs about ourselves and the subconscious beliefs and limiting beliefs, what I call borrowed beliefs, that are preventing us from realizing this truth. So you have these two people that are praying to two different gods. It's only in their minds that they see their God as a different God, a separate God. But in reality, beyond their mind, beyond the ego, it's one God, it's one presence, it's one divinity. And so if we want to solve the world's problems, which is a big task, it's a tall glass, right? And I don't think it's really for any of us or all of us to try and solve all the world's problems. But if you want to even help in any way, whether you're called towards environmentalism, you're called towards helping abused women, you're called towards supporting children, you're called towards supporting abused men, you're called anything you're called towards, any mission you're called towards. It might be towards the rights, LGBTQ, or gay rights, or anything that you're called towards. It might be helping war victims, PTSD. The best thing you can do for them is to do everything you can to continue realizing your true self. And it's not a one-time thing. It's not like, oh, I realized my true self. Now I'm enlightened. It's like, for me, it's been and it still is. It's been an ongoing journey of many experiences, many awakening moments, many ahas, many breakthroughs, many experiences of that true self, of recognizing what are these limiting beliefs, what are these emotional wounds, what are these traumas, and let me understand them and heal them and integrate them. And it's many experiences of feeling one with the divine and meditative experiences. There's so many ways that help. Pranayama, meditation, deep prayer, even profound spiritual music and dance can give you that incredible experience of your true self. Being out in nature, art, the expression of art in a beautiful way, making music, writing poetry. There's so many ways to tap into that part of yourself. And it's an ongoing thing. It's many experiences over a lifetime or lifetimes. But the more that you can focus on that in yourself, as a human being, as an individual, as a leader in any way, the more good and positive impact you will have on the planet. Why? Because the more that we come from that true self in whatever we do, the more that we come from that divine connection, the more we come from that love and that compassion and that caringness and that generosity, then whatever work you do in the world is going to make a better impact. It's going to make a good impact in people's lives. Is that right? Would you agree? Right? So anything that we can do. And that's why I've brought together almost a dozen different modalities that I've learned and have been learning and continue to learn and implement and use and benefit from over the last nearly 20 years in my life, and have put them together in a very structured, systematic way called the awaken process. It's a process because awakening, spiritual awakening, conscious awakening, awakening to our true self, it's a process. And yet, instead of sitting for 20 or 30 or 40 sessions of therapy, I thought, can we do that kind of work in a single session? Right? Can we go and use many of these powerful modalities, whether it's somatic work, it's parts work, it's Advaita Vedanta and yoga and meditation and breath work, it's aspects from cognitive behavioral therapy, from attachment repair, from inner childhood wounding, and use these in a way, and it is very, very powerful. In a single session, people are having major breakthroughs. And so whether you use the awaken process for your own journey or whatever modalities you're using, as long as we are continuously reminding ourselves that it's connecting, reawakening, realizing our true self, our connection to the divine, connection to God, that it's going to make the whole planet a much, much better place, then we're making a really beautiful, positive impact, right? So I wish you many, many blessings. Namaste. Jai Gurudev.